Hello, welcome back to This Is My Story, your unofficial Hearts podcast. This is something a wee bit different for us. As you will have seen on social media, we have spent the last couple of days interviewing the potential candidates for the Foundation of Hearts, which has been superb. This is a wee mini series with the interviews with all five of them. We have to say straight away that thanks to all five for taking part. It was amazing to get the time to talk to them. Every single one of them impressed us. It was myself and Ando that got the time to sit down and talk to them, and each person brings something unique to the table, has great ideas and great visions for where they want the club to go and how they want the Foundation of Hearts to work. The reason that we reached out to them to do them is because obviously we're Hearts fans, and you know what we're like on the podcast. We're heavily opinionated, and the whole point being fan owned is that we have this vehicle, we have this opportunity where we can vote on and off the candidates that we want, that we think best represent us, best represent the way we want the club to go. And that's why we thought, right, well, we're all big enough to stand outside Tynecastle with our bed sheets telling people we want them off the board. Then we need to, for that big enough to do that, then we need to get involved in the voting process and make sure that the right candidates are put forward. So the AGM for the Foundation of Hearts is on the 16th of December. The Foundation of Hearts messaged all pledgers to tell them of the process, and as of the 12th of October, I think it was, or round about then, basically all of the candidates had to submit their applications to be considered, and the five candidates that went through, that were successful and that go through to the vote, are Andrew Brown, Jerry Mallon, Brian Muir, Graham Robertson, and Louise Strutt. Louise Strutt is an existing director and is standing for re-election. So again, you can go onto the Foundation of Hearts website and have a look at, I think they've got individual profiles of basically a little bit about them. You'll have seen bits here and there over social media as to what they're all about. But yeah, if you've got the time, dive on, have a read, see which candidate you like, and then listen and hear what they have to say in this wee mini series. And when you want to vote, and when the voting's open, you would just go to the foundationofhearts.org/election address 2021. So, in no particular order, here are your interviews. Cheers. Hi Graham, how are you doing?
Good afternoon, doing well.
Good. How do we find you on a Friday? Hearts are travelling to Motherwell tomorrow. Win, we go second.
Got my tickets lined up, looking forward to the game. Obviously, our last performance was exceptional. I think we're just looking for something along similar lines, but the Hearts way is not normally consistent as that, but we do hope, and just looking forward to the game. Love my football, looking forward to the game.
Well, we're potentially taking about 4,000 tomorrow, depending if there's a pay at the gate.
I noticed also that the Livingston tickets are just about sold out as well.
Really?
Just shows you the appetite within the fan base to follow a good Hearts team. There's a bit of excitement about, which is fantastic after last year, and I think there's an engagement with the fans that's football based. You know what I mean? If the club does well, it gets results, then the fans are excited and motivated. And the other way is also true, obviously. But a good place. Team's playing well. Some great signings this year. Some great guys playing consistently well. And Motherwell tomorrow, bring it on.
Do you think that's a big part of why the Foundation of Hearts has been so successful? Is, you know, the fact that we have been, like you said, we've had good times, we've had bad times, but in true Hearts fashion, when our bad times are bad, they're very, very bad. And you know, the Foundation as a concept is something that I've seen we've all seen other clubs try and do it, but do you think it's the reason that the Foundation is so successful is because we've been on the edge, so to speak, you know, whereas others have maybe never been to that absolute crisis point? Do you think that's what makes the Foundation the way that it is?
I do think that the birth of the foundation, shall we say, was out of need, out of a desperation to save a club. And I think when that's involved in all aspects of life, when a community is at risk, and the Hearts fans are a community, it's a community club, it drives motivation. It brings up that inner strength that you have to do something to survive. So it's a survival. I've been in that situation and not managed to be as successful as Hearts. But I see that, I see that initial threat as being an absolute kickstart to the foundation. And it's on since then, to be quite honest. And it's the envy of probably, well, from a fan's perspective, it's the envy of probably every other fan base, and it's something we should be very proud of.
Yeah, man, I think, like you said, I think all of us take great pride in it. And one of the things that has made it so sort of inclusive and not easy to become a part of, it's, I think, when you talk about it, there's always a sort of balancing act where you didn't want a culture of pledgers v non-pledgers. Do you know what I mean? So people saying, "Oh, you don't pledge, so you don't have a voice," or "I pledged £10 more than you, so I should be listened to." And I think one of the real success stories from the get-go from Hearts was the fact that it's always been pledge what you can, pledge what you want type thing. You know, whether it's a fiver, whether it's the sky's the limit. And I think that's really helped kickstart as well. You know, is that something you see where the early success come from as well?
I absolutely agree that the ethos is that a foundation member is a Hearts fan financially put in what they can afford for the club, and a fan who's not a member is, in my view, a potential future member. When their circumstances change, hopefully they can come on board. I'm pretty sure there can be several initiatives that we can drive that membership up. It's growing just now. It's 8788. It's a great number. 10's a better number. 11's a better number than that, and 15's a better number than that. And for those that can remember 1998 and the cup coming back to Tynecastle and the crowds in the street, a 250,000 crowd in the street, all Hearts fans or substantially Hearts fans. Do you know what I mean? We've got a magnificent fan base, and it needs time to grow. It's all the previous directors of the foundation have done a fantastic job. First of all, the first board is making sure that the club survived. And the second generation of that was making sure the share transfer was delivered. And this is now the third generation, and it's all about the future and all about growth and keeping an eye on the past, but can certainly striving for the future. I think we always Hearts fans, the club, to do the best we can, and we always Hearts fans can get together, and I'm pretty sure we can pledge what we can and try and grow that. And it's something that I'm very, very passionate about, and I'd like to be involved.
And you said there about initiatives to sort of grow the structure, because you're right, 87's brilliant, but the one thing I've always liked and admired about the Foundation of Hearts is the fact that, like you said there, well, 9's better, 10's better than that, 11's better. Let's really sort of catch the scope of how big a club Hearts can be. We talked about it there, you know, we're going to take 4,000 tomorrow to Motherwell. There's a chance if performances stay how, we'll take 7,000 to Livingston. We've done it before, we've done it twice before.
Yeah.
When the product in the park and the fans are engaged, the club, it's massive. And it's something like you said, it's something that you hope that the foundation can keep driving. So you mentioned a couple of initiatives there.
Yeah.
Where are you sort of looking next to grow? You know, we've obviously got a younger generation coming up. Have you got any sort of initiatives or plans to sort of see how we would engage with them?
Yeah, well, for example, I've got 12 grandchildren, and if there was a junior foundation member, I'd pay for the 12 of them. So that's another 12 foundation members straight away. Now that might not be £10 a month. It might be £10 a quarter. It could be an annual £50 fee. It could be anything. And I'd like to be party to that discussion. But in terms of parents and grandparents out there, it's something that I think would take off quite nicely. And again, what you're doing is you're actually giving them a sense of Hearts at a young age, and then when they become an adult and when they can become Hearts supporters in terms of going to the games themselves, independent, and then getting a profession and then becoming a full member. So that's one initiative. Other initiatives including, I do think we need to get better at dealing with the grassroots support. I do think that the fans' voice, I wouldn't say is forgotten. That's not fair. And having not been in the foundation in terms of at board level, I don't know all the initiatives that have gone on in the background that may have not succeeded. But in my view, we need to try and get better at communicating with the fan base, and that's engaging with the supporters clubs. It's engaging with on a match day. It's engaging with, but also we need to understand the views of the fans and communicate with them to understand what their issues are. And do you know what? We've got 8,700 ideas probably that can potentially improve the whole setup of the foundation and raise money for the club. There's no doubt be some great skill sets in there that might be, do you know what? I can commit 8 or 9 hours to the Hearts every week. I can commit this amount at that time. I've got this skill to do that. And I think understanding the skill set in our membership and understanding what people can potentially bring to the table in terms of a collective below foundation, the Hearts board level, kind of like a working group, shall we say, in particular key areas. And let's get together, understand the views, and let's drive it forward. That's what I just think there's massive potential. And I just want to try and make sure that there's no stone unturned. We must make this bigger, better, and we must do it every day. I said to somebody asked me, what would you think the ceiling is? I said, well, there's no ceiling to the potential, because when we get to 20,000, the next thing in the day, I want 20,001.
Yep.
That's the way it is. And I just think if we get the right type of engagement, and that can be face-to-face meetings, it can be correspondence, it can be at Tynecastle, it can be in Foundation of Hearts Day, shall we say, an annual event. It can be attending supporters clubs meetings. It can be anything. We've got to listen. We've got to understand. We've got to shape whatever these views are collectively to make sure that the Hearts board hear what we're saying. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just thinking it can be better.
No, and I would agree. It's one of the things on this podcast we've spoken about before, and we've gave the club a lot of credit because I think it has deserved it. When you think of some of the other clubs in the league, it's, even at the higher sense, you know, the leaders of the league right across the board are very insular. They don't take criticism. They don't seem to chase expansion or to get better ideas or whatever. So it's one of the things that I think the club are actually really good at. But like you said, that doesn't mean that there's not an initiative there or room to make it better, because that's what the foundation of Hearts is, isn't it? It's the whole point of it, is that the fans have a voice. We're obviously we're fan owned, we're not fan run, which is something that I think when we're playing poorly can be forgotten. You know, that you folk emailing in telling get rid of the manager or change a different thing. I mean, that's not what the vehicle's for, but that doesn't mean that there's no substance behind what's been said. You know, we were very vocal last year about Robbie and the way we were going. And to Robbie's absolute credit is we've seen the changes. You know, we've seen the tinkering last season. We've seen different formations that weren't working. We've seen square pegs, round holes, all that usual stuff. And all we're moaning about is there's a core group of players there that should be better than what they're doing. And now we've got a formation that suits all those players. When a right back drops out, a right back comes in. When a striker drops out, a striker comes in. And look at us, Saturday against Dundee United before the international break was probably one of the best times that Tynecastle have had for many a year. And that's easy to say because we won 5-2. But everything about it was great. The atmosphere was great. Dundee United had a full away end. We had a full home end. Both teams were like, it was 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2. It could have finished 5 each, could have finished 10-2 to Hearts. But it was brilliant. It was value for money. And you think, look at what you can get from this football club when the fans are engaged. Do you know what I mean? When there's a product in the park, when the fans are up for it, look at the possibilities are endless.
I think when we got to 4-2, I go to the games. I take Willie Wood MBE to the games. I pick him up in Trinent and drop him off. And we got to 4-2, and I turned around and said to him, I was laughing. And I says to Willie, I says, my season ticket money is worth this game alone. I was just laughing because it was such fun. Do you know what I mean? It was just magnificent. But as I say, we've had our ups and downs, and that's what we're used to. And there will be other ups and downs. But do you know what? There is a positivity about the place. There is a positivity, and that's driven by the football. It's driven by the football.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. It absolutely is, and it's the way it should be, isn't it? It's like you said, nobody. I know Robbie often says things that I understand why he said it, but he said it in a way that I think, oh, what have you done? What you said that for? I mean, anything he said last year about the Man United and Man City, and that it's true. It's true. I don't buy my season ticket expecting Hearts to win the league. I never do. But I expect Hearts to play in a way. I expect them to go for it. Do you know what I mean? If we lose 5-2, I'll take it. Do you know what I mean?
Correct shape, correct passion, and fighting for everything, and hopefully attacking if we can. That's but at the same time, have I enjoyed Craig Gordon saving virtually everything that comes towards him? It's just magnificent. It's just absolutely magnificent. Do I enjoy Beningame and Devlin getting stuck in? Absolutely do. It's just fantastic being a Hearts fan just now. Again, we go through a lot to get to where we are, and we understand it can change. But listen, good times. But we always need to be growing and getting better, always.
Well, that I agree. Here. So, obviously, give us a little bit about yourself, your background. What is it you do? What skills do you bring? Would you be bringing to the foundation of Hearts?
My background, first of all, I'm a Trinent man all my days. Travelled the world, but a Trinent man. Started off my career as a quantity surveyor. Did my professional examinations after 2 years. Wasn't getting paid enough money. Joined Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs. Quite a strange move, but I jumped 11, 12 times my salary. So joined up. Was promoted very, very early. Managed 20 staff and then managed 40 odd staff. Then was not headhunted, but was suggested I should go down the inspectory taxes route. So I jumped over to the inspector side, qualified as an inspector, and did investigation work. So I was a tax inspector doing investigation of small businesses in the Edinburgh and Lothians area. I did that for nearly 20 years. I knew within myself I was ready to go. By that time, I've got an international career at Lawn Bowls. My bowls career was taken off, and I knew that I needed a change. I got offered the national director of bowls coaching job in Scotland part-time. So I took that on board, managing a group of coaches. We developed coaching programs, a new coaching manual, modularised the manual, developed various programs, a try and enjoy program to introduce school children to the sport. It's a volunteer system. We had 1,800 coaches. It's a volunteer system. At the end of the schools project, we'd introduced 70,000 children into the sport over 15 years. Magnificent achievement with a volunteer system. So, enjoying communicating with grassroots and working with grassroots and bringing it forward. Then took on a bowls position in a sports company, sales guy, inland revenue, inspectory taxes, to a bowl salesman. Bowls was my passion. I played at international level for a long time, won world indoor and outdoor championships, etc. Travelled the world, won titles overseas, etc. So bowls was my passion. So within 3 months, I was the sales director of the company. Within a year, I was the managing director of the company. And I took on the responsibility for product development, rebranding, everything associated with that. Moved on in various sales managing director roles. Eventually, in 2008, became a 1/3 owner. So progressed to a 1/3 owner in a company for 2008. And then in 2015, I was a managing director again. We did a couple of acquisitions. We brought a product to market that cost us about £1 million to develop, and then it was a patented product. And then we actually sold part of it to America and part of it to Europe. But the European deal was concluded after I left. But at that time, I got the chance to do a management buyout in 2015. we bought the Sports and the Surfaces division, which was kind of my baby as such, my passion, in 2015. And since then, we've grown organically. We did a small acquisition in 2018, and we diversified during lockdown. So quite a range of skills within there, all of which kind of make me the person I am just now. Can people call me entrepreneurial? Didn't realise that I was until when you look at it, it's all about thinking. It's all about making decisions. It's all about guns, it's about following through, and so on. So you meet Scottish Enterprise, they tell me I'm entrepreneurial. You meet various other people, and eventually you go, you know what, I must be. But to me, I'm just doing my job. And they say I'm a risk taker, but I don't see it as a risk. I see it as a calculated risk, which is completely different. A risk can toss on a coin heads and tails, and you've got a 50% chance. So a range of skills, communication, pretty strong. When I looked at the Hearts board, and with respect to the Hearts board, what I seen was initially when the survival was at risk, it was a finance board. It was accountants, lawyers, and finance strong, and it had to be. It basically had to be to make sure the club survived. And then the board retained a finance strong position in lawyers, accountants, etc. in its current form. And again, that you had to deliver the shares. We now own the share ownership, so that had to be delivered. I think this is phase 3. I see this as a phase 3 situation. And when I looked at the board, when I decided to apply for the position, first of all, I had to make sure I had the time to devote and the energy to devote to a passion, which is the foundation, which is Heart Midlothian Football Club. So once I'd agreed in my head that, yeah, I can do this, the second thing was I looked at the board's skill set and I looked at my skill set and I thought I could help them. That's the key reason. I then looked at it after that and said, have I got ideas? Is there something within me that can help progress this, can go forward? And I think I have. And I've been involved in a bit of broadcasting, I did a bit of commentary for the BBC. There are a lot of presentations all over the world regarding, okay, it's not football, but it's the same principle. And I'm quite comfortable in that situation. I mentioned to somebody recently, when you build a team, and the foundation of Hearts board is a team. When you build any team, you build the correct team. And I mentioned, for example, that, Joe Savage couldn't do James Anderson's job. James Anderson's job couldn't do the chief executive jobs, and the chief executive couldn't do Joe Savage's job. But the three of them together make a fantastic team. So you need to get a combination of skills. The other thing is that I think, and again, I don't want to actually be negative about the existing board because they've done a magnificent job. But I do also believe that with engagement with the fans and the members and the fans, there is a skill set down below that could be a working party on various initiatives. I think that can be discovered and utilised. I then look at regards the engagement side and the communication side. And again, no doubt there's been hurdles in there, and no doubt Brora made things incredibly difficult and all these sort of things. And we've got to kind of go over these type of ups and downs, because you just can't be emotionally that involved with that situation. But when you look at the engagement side, for example, if you look on Kickback, you see all this talk about Tynecastle and the redevelopment facilities and that. I'm pretty sure there's been a feasibility study done regarding what other opportunities lie, but I'm pretty sure it's sitting in a folder somewhere. Now, there may be no opportunities. Maybe we can fill in the corners. Maybe we can put a new stand on top of the wheat field. What I'm saying is, I think, given the constraints of a PLC, given the constraints of confidentiality, there can still be some sort of putting that matter to bed, whether it is that it could be there's no more room for improvement, no more growth in terms of seats that we can get. A new stand, another 4,000 seats, but it's going to cost 10 million. And in terms of our cash flow and our business plan, we don't see it as being viable at this point. So these sort of things that the fans are all passionate about, and because we're all doing well, and You can. These things are no doubt being worked on in the background, but I think we can communicate these better, because ultimately, with the fans having this shareholding now, the voice we need to listen, and we need to make sure that the Hearts board hear what our members are saying. For example, phase 3. Let's talk about phase 3. This is like a transfer window, and it's the opportunity to shake things up a little bit and add new skills to the board. But possibly the next transfer window, the next AGM or the next re-election procedure is when it gets shaken up again, and again to reflect the board, because transitionally that's where we are. There's always a need for a strong accountant on the board, always a strong finance lawyer presence on the board. But you've got to look at the other core skills and try and marry the correct team together. I don't have all the answers. I do not have all the answers. I just think the team needs to change and just to add a little bit more energy, a little bit more ideas. But again, I think it goes back to the communication and engagement with the fans and the members, and how we can pull that together. That's what I think. And as I say, if I'm fortunate enough to gain a position, then my energy will be channeled in that direction.
Well, that's good to hear, because I share a bit of the sentiment that you've said there, is that I've always felt that because the foundation was sort of born in crisis, it was a means to an end to save the club, and it's been something that we've managed to turn into a massive positive. But I've always found, especially during the times where we've not been performing in the park, or we've had bad results, or we've had kicks in the teeth, we've always kind of had this, I don't want to say a comfort blanket, but we always go back to, yeah, but we were almost out of business 3 years ago, then it was 5 years ago, then it was 6 years ago, and it's like we can't just keep going back.
Well, that chapter's closed. That chapter's
done now.
It's closed. That chapter's closed. Let's be proud of it.
Yep.
Let's be extremely proud of it. And the next chapter was the delivering the shares. Let's be proud of that. Let's be proud that we're pumping in 140, 150 grand into the club every month, and we all love to get that kind of monthly update, and we go, yes, it's another 150 grand. How good are we? And you know what? I love that, because again, it's people that care about the club passionately, and it's a good to see. But we need to get better on the engagement side, and we just need to find a way. I know that there are constraints financially with regard to what they can do. Obviously, if you're mail shotting 8,700 Hearts supporters by physical mail, because not everybody has social media and not everybody has email addresses, then that alone would cost probably in the region of, well, probably close to about 8 grand. Do you know what I mean? So ultimately, there are any constraints on that side, and we might have to look at the articles to see how that can loosen slightly, if we can think we can get better value in terms of growing the membership. You can't cut off your nose to spite your face. You've got to look at things in a positive manner and understand the benefits of subtle changes in terms of how we do things. And again, I don't have all the answers, but I do have a range of skills that I think would benefit the board. And I would like to think that if I get the chance, that's what I can add.
Yeah, and that again, you went on to say about the stuff you've done, your work with Bowls, in terms of your engagement with the grassroots level, and I share what you said in terms of engaging the next generation of fans coming. I think a massive opportunity that we have is engage the fans inside Tynecastle. Make Tynecastle a place fans want to be. Not just, we're great at the hospitality, guys, we look after them brilliantly. What can we do for the punter? What can we do to make it better?
100%. In the Dundee United game, I came down at half time. I'm in Block F at Wakefield, and I came down at half time. And basically, I was sitting there, I was standing at the back, and I was looking at the ladies' toilets, and there was about 40 ladies queuing up for the toilets. And I'm going, that queue, there's no chance they'll get in, but Ken,
the game starts again now.
There's no chance. So I 2-3 minutes to half time, restarting, and I get to my seat, and there's still about 15 or 16 in the queue. Now I've got 6 granddaughters, and I'm looking to take possibly 2 of them, age-wise, possibly 2 of them to the game, probably in the spring when we're chasing that European place or
Champions League,
top spot. And I've kind of had that discussion, and as a grandparent come down, being faced with a 40 long queue to get in the ladies' toilets, it's not ideal.
No.
I think we should look after our fans first and foremost. Our football clubs are home. We need to make sure that it's the best home it can be. It can be looking spick and span when the guys come up and the girls come up on a Saturday to watch it. Everything's working well. The Wi-Fi connections are great. The facilities are great. Everything's how it should be, the best it can be. If the fans want screens, we get screens in. If the fans want a curry pie at half time, we get a curry pie at half time. That has to be what we need to do in terms of our home. And we need to make sure, you know what amazes me is, see if these toilets, see if there's men standing to waiting to get into the toilets at half time and missing the beginning of the second half, there'd be an absolute uproar. And I just think we've got to just make sure that we're touching the fans in terms of their ideas and what's not quite right. And again, for example, the Wheatfield, queuing to get into Wheatfield. So the thing to take to go in, like even the Dundee United game, I know there's the COVID situation in the past, but I looked down, I actually spent a bit of time looking at the Wheatfield and looking at the length of the queue and observing how the stewards were managing the situation. It wasn't good enough.
Aye.
Now, they've got to comply with the regulations in terms of the law, but at that time, it was a 10% check. They weren't even filling the spaces at the turnstiles quick enough so that the turnstiles operator were continuous. It just was, I was annoyed. Do you know what I mean? I was really annoyed. And these are little things. Okay, so what do we need to do? Well, we need to make that better. We need to maybe add another couple of turnstiles, another 3 turnstiles, whatever. But we need to make sure that these things are resolved going forward. And that's big for me. And we can only do that by the correct engagement.
Yeah, and I like you said, I think you've got your main customer in your ground every second week. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's where you can, like you said, you take your granddaughters, you sell them the image, the dream, the lifestyle, the misery, whatever you want to call it, yeah, for a lifetime of it. But like you said, if they're of an age where they're no confident to stay in that queue for the 15 minutes, then you think, right, well, I'm going to have to take them into the guys' toilet where 50 folk in there are smoking and you can't get in. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the wee silly things that I hope we become as a club. We get the heads up now because we've fixed what we need to fix. We are where we are. We need Tynecastle to be better. And like you said, let's explore safe standing, because that's what young guys want. That's what the young guys want.
Absolutely correct. I mean, I'll give you another point, for example, because it comes up in kickback, and it comes up all the time. And it's, as we grow as a club, and if we're successful as a club, in terms of the away end support, in terms of Rangers and Celtic, I know fans, I know dads with children that don't go to that game because of that support being in there. Yep. So for me, if the fans say, by the way, we want the Old Firm to get half that away end, then that should happen, in my opinion. And I know there's a financial consequence to that. And then maybe it's up to the foundation to try and say, right, okay, let's have a foundation day on that day, and let's try and do something else to try and make sure that the bums are on seats and we actually fill the stadium. Because I think if Hearts are playing well, we'll fill it anyway.
I absolutely agree. And I think that it shouldn't be lost, and it wasn't lost on me at the start. Celtic's first away game was Tynecastle. They had no fans. They got beat. Rangers' first away game was at Dundee United. They got beat. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's it makes Tynecastle especially. It's such an intimidating place and such a special place when it's absolutely rocking.
If Hearts are playing well, I think it's a bet. I've been at a few stadiums all over the country, including England. It's the best stadium in the country.
I agree.
Absolutely.
And if we can get the facilities to match, even like you said, it's just like you said, we've been in crisis mode. Let's get the head up and start engaging with the fans. How can we make it better? You know, do we need, if the Gorgie Suite's there, can it be a fan bar before game? Can we get them, push pressure on the government? Can we get a pint at halftime? Can you get a pint before it? Because that's revenue, that's money in the club. You know what I mean?
It's not out with our pay grade to try and pull that together, but our voice again as a fan group, as a members organisation. Yeah, absolutely. We can express that strongly to the Hearts board, and then the Hearts Hearts board's responsibility is to represent that voice to government or whoever's making these decisions. And again, this is where the communication comes in. I'm sorry, I must have repeated that word about 10 times now. But that's what I believe. It's all about engagement, listening, making sure that collectively you put the correct view across. And there has to be commerciality. There has to be confidentiality in aspects. We all understand that. There's governance involved, and we must comply with all these things. That's done. At the same time, there must be that opinion that flows through the club, and we then must put pressure on the government or whoever else that's actually in charge of making that decision. But you're right, in terms of safe standing, I went for years and years and years, and I used to go half time behind at the Gorgon, then go to the school end in the second half and all this sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? We used to go round in circles watching the club and watching, depending where you what they stand. Now that's never going to happen again. But there is room for safe standing, and it's not a case of will we or won't we. You ask the fans. If the fans say yes, if the members say yes, well, then you deliver it. And if it costs $500,000, it doesn't matter. That's what the fans want, and that's what needs to be heard. And I think it makes potentially can make the atmosphere even better. You know, when you go to away games, you end up virtually standing because you otherwise you can't see anything, and it tends to get a better atmosphere. But again, that's it's a longer term view to try and bring all these things to the table. And do you know what? I'm pretty sure the existing Foundation of Hearts board members have discussed all these issues. I'm pretty sure they have. And maybe they've tried in the background. They might have. I just don't know. But again, everything that we've mentioned today, I think there's probably a communality of opinion that can be progressed further.
I would agree. I absolutely agree. Well, that's been amazing, Graham. It's been great talking to you. You got the game tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. Got the game tomorrow. I'm just wondering how quickly it's set off. Might set off at about 8:15 in the morning. I'm that excited. It's just great. But obviously, I take Willie's in his mid-80s sort of thing, so I try to get relatively close to the ground. My son sometimes comes. He's not going tomorrow. My son's Graham Robertson, by the way. That always gets a laugh. My grandson's not going tomorrow. So there's just the two of us. So it's about kind of looking at the park and various other things.
Well, man, thanks a lot for taking the time to talk to us. I really appreciate it. And here's for 3 points tomorrow.
It's been a blast. I've jumped into a couple of your podcasts. I've enjoyed them. They've been fun, and I will continue to do so. I wish you all the very best in your initiatives going forward. I think you're doing a great job promoting arts. And the last thing is for yourself and any other of your mates on this This Is My Story podcast. If you're a Foundation of Hearts member, vote Robertson.
Vote for Robbo. That's what you want. Cheers, my man. I appreciate that.
All the best.
All the best. Thank you, man.